at 640-5828 or visit them at number 41 Cane Farm Road, Tacarigua, or email ryanairac@gmail.com. For prompt and efficient service, look no further than Ryanair.
Limiting chronic inflammation is important for so many conditions that occur.
I had a lot of pain 4 years ago.
I used to have pain in my knees, in my hip.
Taking it for arthritis.
Omega XL saved my life.
Then I started to realize, well, hey, I could use my hands, I don't have any pain.
All in all, I am pleased to say that the Omega XL has worked.
When you say TNT's construction boss, then there's only one company, Lacroix Construction Services Limited, specializing in general construction, industrial maintenance, manpower resources, transportation and lifting, and equipment rental, excavators, bulldozers, dump trucks, lighting systems, and everything for your project. We have affordable prices. Call now 267-0000 or 431-0012. Lacroix Construction Services Limited, TNT's construction boss. When you say TNT's construction boss, then there's only one company, Lacroix Construction Services Limited, specializing in general construction, industrial maintenance, manpower resources, transportation and lifting, and equipment rental, excavators, bulldozers, dump trucks, lighting systems, and everything for your project. We have affordable prices. Call now 267-0000 or 431-0012. Lacroix Construction Services Limited, TNT's construction boss. For all top quality and affordable hardware supplies, no one beats Midland Hardware, located number 97 Eastern Main Road, Arouca. Midland stocks the #1 brands in hand tools, garden tools, water tanks, power washers, generators, water pumps, kitchen and bathroom faucets, along with face basins and toilet sets, blocks, lumber, steel, sand, gravel, and topsoil. Also check out Midland for steel windows and assorted designs of metal curtain rods. Everything for home and business projects. Payments via links, credit cards, online payments, or cash on delivery. WhatsApp 327-7761 or call 646-2144. Open every day from 8 a.m. From foundation to finish, it's all at Midland.
Oh gosh, this place hot. And the AC in this car not working.
Check Ryanair. Ryanair is ranked among the best in TNT for auto air conditioning service. They specialize in repairing and servicing all makes and models of vehicles and heavy equipment. They also stock a wide range of parts. Give them a call at 640-5828 or visit them at number 41 Cane Farm Road, Tacarigua, or email ryanairac@gmail.com. For prompt and efficient service, look no further than Ryanair.
Limiting chronic inflammation is important for so many conditions that occur.
I had a lot of pain 4 years ago.
I used to have pain in my knees, in my hip.
Taking it for arthritis.
Omega XL saved my life.
Then I started to realize, well, hey, I could use my hands, I don't have any pain.
All in all, I am pleased to say that the Omega XL has worked.
When you say TNT's construction boss, then there's only one company, Lacroix Construction Services Limited, specializing in general construction, industrial maintenance, manpower resources, transportation and lifting, and equipment rental, excavators, bulldozers, dump trucks, lighting systems, and everything for your project. We have affordable prices. Call now 267-0000 or 431-0012. Lacroix Construction Services Limited, TNT's construction boss.
Now, I see here concerns also being expressed about where will I govern from, about office space and whatever and whatever. Thank you for your concerns about that as well. I appreciate it. Where will I have space to carry out my duties and responsibilities? I want to assure you, I will be working out of facilities in Port Spain. I'll be working out of facilities in central Trinidad because we do have, from my last year in government, we established a cabinet room in central. It was then the Ministry of Tertiary Education. It is now Ministry of Agriculture. There is a cabinet room there. I will be working out of South Trinidad because we had also established a cabinet room upstairs of the teaching hospital. I've asked the Minister of Health to find out for me what is the condition of that. But I'm told the one at Central is still in good order. And I will be operating out of Tobago. I'm told there's a beautiful facility in the island of Tobago. We will also work out of Tobago.
For all top quality and affordable hardware supplies, no one beats Midland Hardware, located number 97 Eastern Main Road, Aruca. Midland stocks the #1 brands in hand tools, garden tools, water tanks, power washers, generators, water pumps, kitchen and bathroom faucets, along with face basins and toilet sets, blocks, lumber, steel, sand, gravel and topsoil. Also check out Midland for steel windows and assorted designs of metal curtain rods. Everything for home and business projects. Payments via links, credit cards, online payments, or cash on delivery. WhatsApp 327-7761 or call 646-2144. Open every day from 8 a.m. From foundation to finish, it's all at Midland.
The Excel brand delivers quality service.
I would recommend Omega Excel to everyone.
Take care of yourself, take care of your health with Omega Excel.
If Omega Excel works for me, it will work for you.
Over a period of time, I started feeling stronger in my knee where I could add more pressure.
Oh gosh, this place hot. And the AC in this car not working.
Check Ryan Air. Ryan Air is ranked among the best in TNT for auto air conditioning service. They specialize in repairing and servicing all makes and models of vehicles.
Thank you so much, Master Control, and thank you so much to the good folks that are locked on. So we do have the Honorable Senator and the Minister in the Ministry of Housing, Mr. Philip Alexander. Welcome, Philip. I don't know if you were getting me clearly when I was trying to reach out to you.
Mikey, thank you for having me. Thank you to your viewing and listening audience. I apologize. I missed it by a minute, and I thought I had more time. I apologize.
All right. I'll let that slide. We'll just chalk that up as newness of office.
I want to tell your listeners this morning, you made a joke with me when you couldn't reach me and you say I get too big for Mikey, and I said to him, nobody's coming on Mikey.
All right. I am getting a bit of a feedback here, Master Control. Just a second, Senator. All right, great. Well, first of all, congratulations is in order. I mean, I know you worked hard, and now, of course, there's a time to campaign, there's a time to govern, so we get down to governing, and that's, of course, delivering and serving the people of Trinidad and Tobago. One of the things that you've posted, that I read here, you said that you resolved to work tirelessly to achieve the vision of Kamala Prasad-Processor, the Prime Minister, and you're ready to get to work, to engage with all communities and stakeholders, and to bring real solutions to the challenges facing our citizens. I mean, it's been 1 week, and I know you've been bombarded with so many calls and getting to know, of course, the staff at the ministry and what have you. But what is your takeaway from everything? Because it's been quite a historic week.
Oh, Mikey, it has. And the country is, you know, I want to say like you're in a vehicle and you slam a brakes and you turn a hard 180 degrees. That's how it feels. We still all shake up because it's so much change in such a tiny space of time. I mean, we were waking up in I mean, the Honorable Kamala Prasad is like an angel on this country right now. Statement, in one statement, she said the merit points are gone. The truckers, the taxi drivers, every car owner, anybody who relies on transportation for their business, exhaled. She makes moves that look so simple. She makes it look so effortless, and she makes moves, and then it just relaxes and releases so many people imprisoned by the madness of this last 10 years. And I'm not trying to exaggerate. You know, everybody who's alive in Trinidad and Tobago right now knows how scary life has been here, how frightening. The banks have been doing what they want, the health sector doing what they want. You go to the hospital, you don't know which security guard you're dealing with because you're not dealing with doctors, you're not dealing with nurses, you're dealing with security guards that buffing you and have you sit down in a hard chair for 3 days, 4 days. The country was a failed state, and the media was telling us it's not a failed state, and we were being gaslit and lied to daily. And now, as if with the wave of a magic wand,
Right. Philip, look, if I could ask you to talk up a little, we're getting some, you're not coming in as bold as usual. I hope you haven't been
no, I'm still bold.
so,
yeah,
if you...
No, but it is. You hear me better now?
A little louder will be better if you raise it a little more.
If I raise my volume, I'll be shouting at you, and I'll be rude.
Yeah, right. All right, I'm getting you now.
Yeah, so, but the truth is, honestly, Trinidad and Tobago has never felt more alive, more full of hope than we feel right now. So that's the feeling I have. You asked me about the work that we have to do. The Honorable Prime Minister put 3 strong ministers to work to deliver a mandate. We all have a 6-month deadline on top of us to fix crime, fix water, get housing, get the people settled, get them living a proper life, bring back hope and opportunity in the country. And she wants it now. She doesn't want ministers telling her 3 years down the road, well, madam, we find this and we find that. She don't want excuse makers. She wants people that will go in there understanding the objective and hit the target. And that's where we're at. Tomorrow morning, myself and the substantive minister, Dr. the Honorable David Lee, we're going to be in the field from early in the morning. We're going to many of the projects currently underway. I told people when I was sworn in, I know that one of the main jobs was to get that list perfected. So we have an idea of the size of the goal we have to hit. We have to get that done quickly. And we have to do that while raising morale in the ministries. We have to do that while...
I agree with you, Philip. I really and truly agree with you, Senator, because, I mean, there are many things that we are getting to find out, of course, only after the fact. Many of these projects are in positions that are quite questionable. When I think about it, for example, Terrestrial, which is in Davide, I'm unaware to the fact that that in itself has been tied up in a court matter where these...
They tried to sneak through questionable invoices to get past the legal action being taken. The last Minister of Housing should be sitting in a jail cell today. The people behind Terrestrial should be sitting there with them. This is the reality, what we're facing, and we're going to bring a report to the public. Not to say this is why we can't deliver. We're not allowed to not deliver. But we have to let you know the size of the hole. We're not starting from ground level. We started from a hole. We started from hundreds of millions of dollars in debt. They've taken money from the Treasury. This last regime, they've taken money from the Treasury and said it was to pay for this and it was to pay for that, but those things have not been paid for and we're getting those invoices. So where's that money? And she said to them in the last press conference, don't mistake my quietness for weakness. And She surrounded herself with an army of get it done people. We are going to sort it out. We are going to fix it. We're going to get to the bottom of it. And I'm telling you, and I say this every chance I get, those who took advantage of the people's trust will be prosecuted. She's not joking about that.
Yeah, the Prime Minister did set the tone at the post-cabinet conference. And one of the things that we heard is that, you're right, don't take her kindness for weakness. She has learned, she has a clear understanding now exactly perhaps some of the mistakes that were made in the last time that she was there. Now, when you look at all of that, how can we sum it up? I mean, she's always going to talk about delivery. She's always going to talk about service. She's always going to talk about the most vulnerable in our society. But this time around, what sort of impact are we looking at?
I have to respect this woman for even saying that. I have to respect her so much for saying that because in 2015, she came out of office as the best performing prime minister this country has ever seen. She was let down by her communications team, who went down all manner of rabbit holes instead of just focusing on this is what was accomplished in the last 5 years and this is where we're going, which is what should have been done. And I know that you've been singing that song too. You were saying it then. Come on, what are we doing? We've delivered more schools than any government in history. We've delivered more hospitals than any government in history. We've put in more drains and sidewalks and fixed more roads for more miles of communities than any government in history. This is the first government that set out with a mission to put lights in every recreation ground from pillar to post in this country and succeeded at it. And then also delivered a children's hospital complete with a burns unit. Imagine we had Point Lisas running for all those decades and never had a burns unit. Remember when there was an explosion some decades ago and some people got burned badly and there was no way to treat them? We had a country that it was like a balloon. It looked like something, but it was just full of air. It was nothing. And she delivered so much. And she was let down. And I know, I tell you, when she says she's learned, I watch her and I watch when she speaks. I listen. And I know what she's learned. She's learned not to rely on hollow promises. She's learned not to rely on fake talk. She's learned not to give people too much rope. Because at the end of the day, she's the one that will get hanged. So she knows now that every single person that is part of her cabinet, part of her government, part of this mission, has to deliver. And she knows that her job is to make sure that she set the tone, she set the pace, and she makes sure that it's being delivered. And if you ask me what to expect is differently in this government, accountability daily. And I think that is going to keep everybody focused on the mission. Before I know it, we're going to blink twice. We're going to be in the 2030 election, having beaten her last government, as now becoming the highest performing functioning government in history of Trinidad and Tobago. Because we have goals. We have to replace the oil and gas. We have to move on, move forward, get past the old talk. If you looked at the campaign, she wasn't interested in all the rackery and the bacchanal. They could say what they want. She was taking them on. She would tell us, ignore it, move forward, we have a mission. It was like an army. It was so precise. You were there. You were there, you saw it. The precision of this thing. And I'm saying to you, nothing's changed. I can't tell you what took place in the cabinet meeting, but I can tell you that it was fire. She's ready. She is focused. She's a woman on a mission. Trinidad is going to elevate. Trinidad is going to sit down alongside countries like Norway and Singapore and Dubai, not too distant future. Trinidadians, black, white, red, green, and every shade in between, need to not tighten your belt, buckle your seatbelt. Hold on. Going.
Thank you so much, Senator. I know it's Mother's Day. I know you want to get back to spending time with your family. I want to thank you so much for taking time out and linking with us here today. Any closing comments? Go right ahead.
Well, it's always a pleasure being on any show with you and your team. And I want to tell your listening audience, don't judge any political party now by hot air. judge everybody by the same standard, and let that standard be promises made, promises kept. Watch us do exactly that. Watch us keep all of the low-hanging fruit promises quickly, and watch us bring the big problems to book and get this country back the way it's supposed to be. Mickie K, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Very much,
Appreciate
my
that.
brother. Stay
Thank you.
strong.
All right. There you have it, folks. That's the Minister in the Ministry of Housing, the Honorable Senator Philip Alexander. We'll be right back. We're speaking to economist Dr. Indira Sajuan when we return.
The Excel brand delivers quality service.
I would recommend Omega Excel to everyone.
Take care of yourself, take care of your health with Omega Excel.
If Omega Excel works for me, it will work for you. Over a period of time, I started feeling stronger. My knees, I could add more pressure.
When you say TNT's construction boss, then there's only one company, Lacroix Construction Services Limited, specializing in general construction, industrial maintenance, manpower resources, transportation and lifting, and equipment rental, excavators, bulldozers, dump trucks, lighting systems, and everything for your project. We have affordable prices. Call now, 267-0000 or 431-0012. Lacroix Construction Services Limited, TNT's construction boss.
Oh gosh, this place hot. And the AC in this car not working.
Check Ryanair. Ryanair is ranked among the best in TNT for auto air conditioning service. They specialize in repairing and servicing all makes and models of vehicles and heavy equipment. They also stock a wide range of parts. Give them a call at 640-5828 or visit them at number 41 Kane Farm Road, Tacarigua, or email ryanairac@gmail.com. For prompt and efficient service, look no further than Ryanair. For all top quality and affordable hardware supplies, no one beats Midland Hardware, located number 97 Eastern Main Road, Aruca. Midland stocks the #1 brands in hand tools, garden tools, water tanks, power washers, generators, water pumps, kitchen and bathroom faucets, along with face basins and toilet sets, blocks, lumber, steel, sand, gravel, and topsoil. Also check out Midland for steel windows and assorted designs of metal curtain rods. Everything for home and business projects. Payments via links, credit cards, online payments, or cash on delivery. WhatsApp 327-7761 or call 646-2144. Open every day from 8 a.m. From foundation to finish, it's all at Midland.
Limiting chronic inflammation is important for so many conditions that occur.
I had a lot of pain 4 years ago.
I used to have pain in my knees, in my hip.
Taking it for arthritis.
Omega Excel saved my life.
Then I started to realize, well, hey, I could use my hands, I don't have any pain.
All in all, I am pleased to say that Omega Excel has worked.
And we're back. Thank you so much. Master Control, thank you for making those connections for us. Yes, folks, it's Sunday again. Happy Mother's Day, and we are here. We're speaking now to economist Dr. Indira Sajuan, who is no stranger to the Observer. Let me wish her a happy Mother's Day and welcome.
Thank you very much, Mikey. Let me too take this opportunity to wish all mothers in Trinidad and Tobago and even further afield a very, very blessed Mother's Day.
All right. Let's get down to the meat of it. Last week, press conference, first cabinet press conference by the new administration. And of course, economists are saying that they're not surprised by the state of the economy. First of all, government will have to cut expenditure, which of course is not always easy. What are we looking at?
Well, the state of the economy, you're correct, is not surprising. Even on the night of the election, I was on television and I made the point. The new government, even though on the campaign trail it may have said it was committed to doing a lot of things, it really can't know what it can afford until it takes the office and has the moment, the time in order to be able to assess what the situation is. And even the assessment that we got in that post-budget statement may not even completely reflect what the state of indebtedness is. There may still be things that will continue to unfold as we go forward. So there is no doubt in the fact that there is our revenue situation is significantly lower than our expenditure situation, and our indebtedness, the amount of money that this new government now is obligated to repay, is going to be significantly higher than was expected. In a situation like this, obviously, just like a household, if you have a situation where your expenditure is more than your income, then you're faced with two options. One, you either cut expenditure or you find new sources of revenue. And I think that the Prime Minister was very, very, she was very, what's the word I'm looking for? She was very much the leader in the moment that the country needed, in the way that she articulated the problem, in the way she committed to looking after the needs of the people, even if it meant in the shortest of term increasing our indebtedness. She identified the approximately $4 billion that is required for this particular month in order to maintain the level of expenditure, and she went even a step further to identify how she's going to get that money. She identified the issue of rescheduling government treasury, the issue of borrowing, the issue of drawing down on the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. She has no choice in this moment. Absolutely no choice. Cutting expenditure is not something that you simply take a sharp scissor and start doing carte blanche. It needs time. The government needs time to be able to determine where, not just where expenditure can be cut, but where there can be savings in order to be able to manage the needs of people against what realistically is affordable. And also, she continued to emphasize the importance of finding new sources of revenue and prioritizing that. And I mean, certainly, I think the appointment of the new trade minister, who has a significant role to play in non-energy diversification, I think that we can all agree that this is a really good appointment, and that it gives a sense of hope. I mean, I think the response on the whole has to be one of hope. I mean, she made some decisions in terms of cuts, she said, and she put a greater sense of responsibility on those she has put in office to manage our affairs. She has been very clear. You know, the trend where ministers can have an expectation that they can have housing in and around Port of Spain is no longer available to them. If they want to have an apartment in Port of Spain, use their housing allowance and pay for it. Capping of the allowance with respect to vehicles. I mean, I have been calling for this for a long time, and serious kudos to the Prime Minister for doing this, saying no security patrols for ministers, let the security be used to fight crime. I think these are things, you know, that I think are very warming to the hearts of citizens, and therefore business confidence.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, many times we've heard, you know, the narrative that, you know, listen, U.S. citizens, you have to tighten your belt. U.S. citizens, you have what expectations you may have. You may need to curb that because this cannot be delivered, this cannot be given to you. But now we're hearing something different as to say, listen, if I'm going to lead, I'm going to start leading by setting the example with myself and among my cabinet and my government. They must understand that they too must show the citizens that they have to tighten their belts. So I think we did witness, and we did hear the language itself was very strong, and it gave us a sense of, you know what, if we're going to be in this situation, then all of us will have to make such a sacrifice to cut exactly what needs to be cut.
Absolutely, Mikey. I mean, there are a lot of hard decisions that have to be made, but I think we need to give the government a moment to be able to truly assess things and to start to roll out their plans in terms of how things are done. I do see our indebtedness increasing for quite some time because there's no magic bullet. You know, people, the Prime Minister can't snap a finger and suddenly there are new sources of revenue tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Please take a little bit of a time. She will need her ministers to identify the low-hanging fruits and then to do what is necessary, whether it is modification of government policies, whether it is improving the ease of doing business, whether it is holding the hand of the private sector and encouraging them and giving them the kinds of stimulus that is required in order to realize stronger growth in those low-hanging fruits. And there are quite a few, Mikey, that are around us that can not just generate revenue but can generate foreign exchange. And we all live and appreciate the challenge that we're having with respect to foreign exchange.
Yeah, one economist pointed out that the central bank data had clearly shown a deficit which had been widened over time, particularly with increased government spending ahead of the general election. I mean, some consideration should have gone into that seriously, especially for those who had a clear idea of the state of the economy. Now, of course, we're going to have to pay a price for that. Are we then going to see that some of these large projects that are ongoing right now may have to be put on hold?
Again, I don't think we're in a position 1 week into the new government to be able to make any pronunciation on that. It is my expectation that the government will approach the issue of expenditure management in a responsible manner. They will do it in a way to ensure expenditure that are linked directly to revenue generation will be the ones that are prioritized, and revenue that could result in increased reliance on the treasury in this moment in time would be the ones that would fall, on the lower steps of the ladder. That is my expectation. My expectation is that, the creating a more needed environment. See, crime prevention, Mickie, that is, to me, the one that we want to see, and we don't want to compromise on that. We want to see action on that in as early as possibly. Prime Minister has given us 6 months. She says within 6 months we will see the changes, and I mean, that is something I think I would really like to see her deliver on, because that would create such a different environment for business. I mean, that would be a fillip to tourism, to investor confidence in many other sectors. It would reduce the cost of doing businesses. It will allow businesses to operate for longer hours. Our entire entertainment sector in Trinidad and Tobago has been curtailed significantly because of crime. So, it is so heavily linked, and that is an area that I really want to see traction as soon as possible.
Yeah, also, when you look at what has taken place in the last almost 10 years, the former administration was not SME friendly. I mean, when you look at the fact that so many of our small and medium enterprises needed to have things like foreign exchange, perhaps even help with tax and what have you, these things were not forthcoming. Do you believe that these are the things that will have to be focused on now to give the private sector, especially the SMEs, that jump start to get out there and get things rolling once again?
Well, what I would say is the last administration for 10 years really had a rent-a-banker with oil and gas. And that was the only thing they had eyes and ears for. I mean, we had a situation where, opening a shopping mall was touted as very significant, or opening a new retail outlet, which means we were using foreign exchange, in order to buy, to sell to ourselves. That's not diversification. Diversification is where we are, especially export-led diversification, is where we are growing not just firms, but industries that can sell to the rest of the world and earn foreign exchange. That's where the focus needs to be placed, Mikey. So I will tell you that an approach that simply supports SMEs at an individual level is a failed approach. It has to be an approach that takes SMEs in a collective. So you need to take an industry and you need to take the SMEs and firms that exist within that industry, and you need to provide the support that is needed for that collective of firms to be able to compete against each other, cooperate with each other, and grow in order to be able to export to the rest of the world. That is how you generate sustainable employment. That is how you link to innovation, because the competition within those entities forces them to continually be doing things better, which means greater efficiency. So the approach, Mikey, has to be a little bit different, has to be more Michael Porter type cluster approach is what we need, and we have so many low-hanging pockets of activities that lend themselves naturally to us doing that. We simply need to support them.
When you talk about these low-hanging pockets, we haven't seen any focus on them for the past 9+ years. And one makes you wonder, why was that not made a priority?
But I think I answered that when I said, unfortunately, and this is something I spoke about throughout
the just life energy,
Yes, that. And it is not simply that we had an obsession with the energy sector. It became even narrow. It became a single focus only on the dragon gas.
That's right.
Steel and nothing else. And so that pre-the campaign, when I confronted persons who spoke about about the failure of the UNC in its previous iteration, and spoke to the fact that, and when I raised the issue of the dragon has now was clear, there was no plan B, person said, well, no, there are 25 projects in the pipeline. And those very people post the election and have now narrowed that 25 projects to 9 projects, and have failed in order to identify it. So that we're really not sure, and I think we need to wait for the Minister of Energy to really give us a status on what is happening in the energy sector with respect to exploration within our own jurisdiction, because this is a priority as well. We have a significant number of plants. We have an entire cluster of economic activity that relies on a supply of gas. We are now only able to provide about 60% of the demand need for that particular sector. So we need to shore that up. And while we were all praying that Dragon would have come through because we needed it, we were always very clear, people like myself were always very clear, what if Dragon failed? Given all of the variables, many of which we had no control over, there's a strong likelihood it could fail. What are you, government, doing in order to ensure that there are alternative sources of gas that can come into play in order to be able to meet the shortfall that exists?
Yeah.
We need now, with a new government, we need to know what the answer, if there is an answer to that.
Yeah, and of course, it was mentioned at the post-cabinet press conference, Suriname, Guyana, Grenada, looking at these options, these new ventures, and seeing how best, of course, we can get in there and achieve some of the economic goals that we are looking at. Go ahead.
It is a reality that these are longer term, if at all they do happen. I mean, it is true that the newspaper today, the prime
Grenada
of Guyana,
right,
is saying that they have already identified use for their gas, and Trinidad were not in there. But again, this is a new government. In new government, it is now starting the process of negotiating with Guyana. It is not the old government. Maybe this government can persuade Guyana to go a different route that could potentially find a way to see us playing a stronger role in the energy sector in Guyana. So, again, we need to give them some time to see how it plays out, right? And simultaneously too, Mikey, we need to start to be more aggressive with respect to energy transition. That needs to be as much a priority as finding new sources of gas, because we should have started this 10 years ago. If we had started the energy transition in a significant way 10 years ago, Mikey, we would have not been in the position that we are in today. And again, I lay the blame for that at the feet of the former administration.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that issue. If you had to speak to the private sector so they can have a better understanding what their role would be, what are some of the things that need to be outlined?
But you see, the private sector always responds to government policy. So I would want to start with the role of government. When government needs to point the direction to the private sector. This happens everywhere in the world. You know, we talk about Singapore as a model to follow. Singapore has its economic development board that plays a very critical role in terms of identifying the sectors or the industries that should be focused in on, that works hand in hand with other state institutions in order to ensure that the fiscal incentive regime, the legislative regimes that are necessary that create the ease of doing business within which business can feel comfortable to invest is in place. It goes a step further to work directly with the private sector in terms of ironing out and cleaning up any debris that might exist to encourage them to be able to move forward, so that from the state perspective, the state has its role and it needs to do that in a lot more functional manner. We have many state enterprises, Mikey. What we have not had is deliver it on the objective when it comes to diversification, and that has to change. KPIs need to be identified. People need to be held to account on a timeline in terms of delivery. I think once those things are put in place, I have no doubt that the private sector in Trinidad and Tobago will rise to the occasion. In the same way that I have no doubt that if we get the environment for agriculture in place from a policy perspective, if we fix that from a directional perspective, I have no doubt that the agricultural sector and the farmers of this country will rise to the occasion in terms of moving us closer to that target of being a lot more self-sufficient in food production, helping us reduce the demand for foreign exchange because we're producing more of what we eat. So that is the approach, Mikey, that I would highly recommend. That I think is what has been missing. Our version of the Economic Development Board has been primarily a research unit.
Right.
That's all. And it can't, if we do that again, that's a recipe for failure. We have to do it different. We have to model it after the models that have been successful.
And how important is it to have these things outlined, not just, of course, have it one-dimensionally mentioned as far as tourism and agriculture? Because, I mean, when you look at it, you're talking about changing a socio-economic culture. We've heard about tourism before, we've heard about agriculture before, but now we're in a critical state that we must venture into these things by explaining and outlining exactly where we want to go from A to Z. And how difficult is that going to be?
I don't think it's very difficult, Mikey. I think it's very, very easy. But at the end of the day, I think you're trying to ask me in terms of how do we sell it to the population.
Exactly.
No, that is the key thing. And people are not stupid. People will be sold if they see action. If they see that the government is really serious about it. I mean, just splitting up organizations. They had one Trinidad Tobago Tourism Development Company, you split it and you make two, but it has existed for 5-6 years and they have not delivered anything. Government ministers holding these institutions to account in terms of setting the targets for what they must deliver on and holding them to account for delivery. I think that would go a long way in giving people the confidence. Involving the sector in the process of developing the strategy going forward is also very critical. People who have been doing the thing, they may not have all of the answers, Mikey, but they have a lot of the answers. They may not have access in some instances as state farmers to what's happening in many parts of the world, but that is where you have the institutional arrangement that must come in order to support them. Listen to them, involve them, ensure that they are part of the process of the solution, not just recipients of decisions made in ivory towers imposed onto them, and they look at them and say, this really, you're not serious. And then people just go about doing what they're doing just to survive. So that the entire approach of communication, of integrating stakeholders, all of these things need to be done for us to move forward in a timely way and with speed. We don't have the luxury of time. I want to overemphasize this, Mikey.
I agree.
We no longer have the luxury of time. We've been talking about diversification now for potentially longer than I have been alive, which has been a while. I myself have been talking about it in the public domain since 2005, 2006. Right? I feel like a broken record on it. And imagine if since then to now, it takes about 10 years to start a new industry and have it on a pathway to sustainability. 10 years. 2006 to now, we've had a few 10-year pockets within there. Imagine if we were doing it in the way that we need to do it, what could happen? Of course, nothing can replace oil and gas into nothing. No one thing can replace oil and gas, but we have to recalibrate. We have to recalibrate. We have to reset expectations within this country. And at the end of the day, we have to do things that can generate jobs, sustainable jobs, rewarding jobs. We have to generate activities and things that can generate foreign exchange, because we need foreign exchange in order to be able to survive and do business with the rest of the world. We have to set what we do has to be driven ultimately by those kinds of targets. Employment generation, foreign exchange generation, revenues to government. These are the kinds of things that must drive where and how we focus in this and position ourselves going forward.
I understand clearly. Before you go, I want to ask you now, Labor itself is a part of this administration. The campaign have been on the platform. What is their role and how understanding and flexible are they going to be as being involved with the new administration?
They have to be, Mikey, because they're no longer an external party simply agitating for their membership. They are now part of the governance system, and therefore they have to make decisions that are in the best interest of the country. Now, even as I say that, Mikey, I want to say that there are creative ways that we can find that doesn't cripple our treasury to ensure that the people of this country, the working class of this country, earn a wage that doesn't have them operating on 2014 incomes in 2025. I have articulated some suggestions. If the government goes into negotiation and they negotiate a higher wage offer, treat the back pay in a way that you give people what is due to them, but you sterilize it in the sense of it's not a drain on the treasury. Pay it through long-term bonds, which can be sold in the secondary market. Pay it through land, which could then stimulate economic activity through construction. There are so many creative ways that we can take about it. Even laptops, involve the private sector, allow corporate Trinidad and Tobago to be the mechanism through which the Prime Minister's objective of a laptop for every child, a laptop or a tablet, whichever makes sense. Listen to teachers. Before you go implementing, have conversation with teachers, because they have great ideas. They're the ones who work the system and they understand. Have conversation with them in order to find the best way in which to do this that does not, again, put a strain on the treasury. We could rethink things like gate and all of these things. We can rethink it in a way where we ensure we make the money available to persons at the moment when they need it. But ensure going down the road, there is a sense of responsibility that I must give back, and therefore after a few years working, you have a responsibility to pay back, even if it's some of it at a very low interest rate. We have to think creatively in this moment as never before, Mikey. And I am giving the new government the chance and the space in order to be able to find these kinds of solutions. And I think we all should be on board to do this.
And I agree with you. And I think what we're really striking this evening is the fact that people want to be involved. They want to be a part of this. They want to participate. And not just be told that this might be best for you, but after 9+ years, I think they know exactly where they want to be and where they want to fit in, and understand the objective is, of course, the interests of the country. So I do agree with you on that.
Yes, absolutely.
Any closing comments? Go right ahead.
My closing comments are that, it is not an easy road. it is not an easy road that faces the government and faces the people of this country. I do believe that collectively we can rise above it and we can find solutions to once again take that place that we have always had within CARICOM, within the region. You know, it is for us to have a little bit of patience, have an understanding, and, you know, and even as we do that, ensure that we are the watchdogs on our new government to ensure that they do not stray from their mandate and ensure that they deliver on what is needed at this moment in time in Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to have you on. Do have a wonderful evening. Again, happy Mother's Day and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you very much, Mikey. You too.
Thank you so much. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, more right here on The Observer. We'll be right back.
The Excel brand delivers quality service.
I would recommend Omega Excel to everyone.
Take care of yourself, take care of your health. It's Omega Excel. If Omega Excel works for me, it will work for you. Over a period of time, I started feeling stronger. My knees where I could add more pressure.
Oh gosh, this place hot. And the AC in this car not working.
Check Ryan Air. Ryan Air is ranked among the best in TNT for auto air conditioning service. They specialize in repairing and servicing all makes and models of vehicles and heavy equipment. They also stock a wide range of parts. Give them a call at 640-5828 or visit them at number 41 Cane Farm Road, Tacarigua, or email ryanairac@gmail.com. For prompt and efficient service, look no further than Ryan Air. When you say TNT's construction boss, then there's only one company, Lacroix Construction Services Limited, specializing in general construction, industrial maintenance, manpower resources, transportation and lifting, and equipment rental, excavators, bulldozers, dump trucks, lighting systems, and everything for your project. We have affordable prices. Call now, 267-0000 or 431-0012. Lacroix Construction Services Limited, TNT's construction boss. For all top quality and affordable hardware supplies, no one beats Midland Hardware, located number 97 Eastern Main Road, Aruca. Midland stocks the #1 brands in hand tools, garden tools, water tanks, power washers, generators, water pumps, kitchen and bathroom faucets, along with face basins and toilet sets, blocks, lumber, steel, sand, gravel, and topsoil. Also check out Midland for steel windows and assorted designs of metal curtain rods. Everything for home and business projects. Payments via links, credit cards, online payments, or cash on delivery. WhatsApp 327-7761 or call 646-2144. Open every day from 8 a.m. From foundation to finish, it's all at Midland.
And we are back. Thank you so much, Master Control. And joining us at this time, we have a political scientist, Dr. Indira Rampasad, who's no stranger, of course, to The Observer. Pleasant good evening and happy Mother's Day to you.
Oh, thank you so much. You know, we're mothers and fathers to so many around.
Yes,
so I do appreciate this.
Yeah, well, you are welcome indeed. Always a pleasure to have you on. Let me ask you, there's some talk we did hear, of course, with the industrial judges from the industrial court. What say you to weigh in on that matter?
Well, I have had a concern about political personalities. And when I say political, people who are past ministers, former senators, holding positions in our courts, and particularly our specialized courts. So that will include Equal Opportunity Tribunal, the Tax Appeal Court, as well as the Industrial Court and the Environmental Commission. Those four bodies, the cabinet does have a say, but it becomes very, very worrying, and I've heard the unions complain when they have to go to the Industrial Court that the persons may not be entirely independent because they are the lay officers in particular, the lay judicial officers. So you have the chair, which generally appointed by the Judicial Services Commission, But the lay officers, the other judicial officers who sit there, they're not lay, they're actually qualified attorneys, judges, qualified in the law. But they are members of the bench, and when cabinet has to appoint them, they tend to become politicized. So there is a conflict of interest between the litigant and the tribunal. The tribunal, being perceived as a partisan. Now, justice must not just not just done, it must also be seen to be done.
Right.
And many of our trade unions have been complaining about this, particularly at the industrial court. So I think that would have accounted for the cabinet, withholding that cabinet note for the appointment of 2 of the judges there. But this is a matter of concern. General concern, I believe that our judiciary should remain independent, regardless of whether they're specialized or whether they're High Court or Court of Appeal or Magistrates Court. The judiciary should remain independent, and even if cabinet has to appoint them, the person so appointed should, uphold the law and should stand for justice.
I agree with you. I mean, there are people who seem to be holding on to certain positions that one has to ask, exactly what do they really stand for. I mean, there seems to be a lack of transparency as to what they represent, and one has to be careful about that. But I want to take you back to last week's first post-cabinet conference, where the Prime Minister made her statements about, don't take her kindness for weakness and what have you. And of course, it is her role to set the tone for her new administration. What was your takeaway from that? And if any tone was set at all, what was it?
So yes, a tone was set, and it was obvious, it was very, very clear to all and sundry that this is a no-nonsense Prime Minister. And she's not going to hesitate to chastise her members, her MPs, or members of cabinet, her senators, whoever she appoints, members of boards which are yet to come. She's not going to hesitate to chastise them. She also let them know in not so many words that this is not a place for unjust enrichment. So that if you're receiving a transportation allowance and a housing allowance, then you're not entitled to, to a driver, vehicle, a house. Use your transportation and housing allowance for that. So you can't have your housing allowance and then expect the government to pay for a house in Port of Spain. He was very, very clear about these benefits. And these benefits are clearly outlined in the Salaries Review Commission. So they would be, I believe, accepting, the former government already accepted it. They have to honor that decision to accept the Salaries Review Commission recommendations for the increase for public officers. But the point is that this was a Prime Minister who was all about business. In addition to that, she outlined the really frightening state of the economy and the treasury, which was some $11 billion in deficit. But she did offer a glimmer of hope, yes, more than a ray of hope, that she's going to try to honor promises to the trade unions for salaries increases, and to other sectors that they made promises to, the laptop, for example, the laptop for the school kids. So she's going to try, and I think the way she's trying to do it is to generate revenue. So she has to bridge that gap with the deficit in order to bring in more revenue, reduce that expenditure, and be able to meet some of these promises in the short run. The salaries and wages, I think she's looking to settle that in the short run, because that was really a very, very volatile situation with salaries not being properly addressed since 2014. I can speak to that as a trade union leader myself. And those that settle for 2 and 2 may also be expecting to get what the others are getting. So she may have to do some retroactive payments as well for those that settle, because generally you want to equalize so that one sector would not be disadvantaged.
So true. Even at that press conference, she she scolded one of the journalists. She said, listen, I'm not buffing you, but I think it's a bit unfair that you would ask me certain questions when in fact the former administration had such a good honeymoon period, a long honeymoon period with the media. And that's something I would like to discuss with you about. When you look at it, there were so many questions and narratives being bandied about as to why is she not in Port of Spain. It was cleared up based on the fact of the working conditions at Whitehall. And then she made it clear, listen, I can work not just in Port of Spain. I have space at my home. When I was in administration, we also set up space in central Trinidad. We also set up space in Tobago. We can work there. And it seems as though the media still wants to have this sort of control of her government, the narrative of her government, and she's making it quite clear, not this time around. I just want to take you back, of course, to when we had Tropical Storm Brett, just to remind the people, when the opposition, of course, was responding, when criticized by the opposition for not responding to citizens' cry for help in the aftermath of that Tropical Storm Brett, Prime Minister then, Dr. Keith Rowley, said that he was busy working in Tobago. And during a tour of communities in the Penal DB Regional Corporation, it was Rowley said his information suggested that Tobago would have suffered the brunt of the storm, when in fact it was really places like Penal and what have you. Now, when asked by a journalist about his whereabouts over the past 3 days, his reply was, "You sounded like my wife." And, at that time, the media just simply took these things, and there are many other statements that he would have made, that the media just simply took it, accepted it, and moved on. And I think we're seeing with the new Prime Minister, listen, I'm on to your tricks, I'm on to what you always try to, create some sort of problem with me, and I'm just not having it, not this time around. What say you?
Yes, a very bold and brave Prime Minister. We have here. This is today's Mother's Day. This is what we can say the mother of the nation is coming forward, informing these journalists that you didn't give me an easy ride in opposition, and it looks like you don't want to give me a fair chance in governance and government. And while I believe in a free and fair media, I also think that they have to be realistic. If a government has been 1 week in power, you can't expect promises to be fulfilled. And I think the PSA president put it very nicely. I saw a comment from her that she made promises, yes, but she didn't say that she's going to be able to fulfill that the day after she comes in or the week after she comes in. They had to do this comprehensive assessment of the treasury, of the economy, which they did. I think that I found rather impressive, that they were able to do that in a week's time, to get so much information on income and expenditure, which was never forthcoming from the last administration. There was so many gaps, so many pieces of information that were missing about the treasury. So we never knew. 1 minute the minister would say we're in a good place, Minister of Finance. The Prime Minister would say ban your belly. And so they were going back and forth, and nobody had a clue as to what was going on. And what was actually going on was heavy overspending. So expenditure exceeded income by $11 billion. And I don't know if that includes the error in that Auditor General's report. And we don't know what happened to that 2.6 billion at this point. I also want to know what is the agreement with Dragon Gas. I keep saying this in your program, Mickie K. What it is that they're so obsessed with this Dragon Gas, and the U.S. government's now actually revoked that OFAC license that they gave for Trinidad and Tobago to deal with Venezuela. Keep in mind that the Venezuelan president has a reputation as a dictator. And our current Prime Minister, is on record as opposition leaders heavily criticizing his dictatorial role, his dictatorial stance in governance. So there are lots of interesting things. She also mentioned, which I thought was welcome, the ways by which she's going to try to generate income. And that is by expanding the energy sector into exploring Grenada, Suriname, and Guyana. She's been criticized for talking about Grenada and Suriname because they're bent on, their opposition seems bent on dragon gas. And I don't know why. I'm talking about the current opposition. But you know, the sky's the limit. And when you are in this state, when the economy is in this state, and you just had the economists there, a prime minister, a government, a new government has to find ways and means to generate income. So that is the challenge that they are facing, you know, bridging that gap between income and expenditure currently.
And basically, you're echoing the same sentiments by economist Dr. Indira Sajiwan, who was on earlier. And, you know, there was this obsession with the entire dragon gas issue. And one has to ask, is there some sort of backlash that we're not hearing about that we can expect sometime in the near future? I mean, it's one thing if someone is to meet you. Let's just say an average person was to meet you and say, you know, Dr. Rampersad, what am I to say to you? Am I supposed to greet you with congratulations or condolences? I mean, you would be a bit worried. Now, when the United States Secretary of State would address you like that, you will be very much concerned, because this is someone who has the highest level of, you know, security clearance. I mean, when he has security briefings, he calls names. He can tell you the names of the people who are perhaps shipping cocaine from the Cali cartel in Mexico. He can give you the names of people who are interacting with certain things. So it means that his intelligence gathering is very much on point. Are we good? Is there some sort of feeling that many people are saying that there's some unexpected backlash, geopolitical backlash, that we are yet to face that could be coming?
Well, yes, and at the risk of seeming speculative, but I will offer an educated guess.
Please do, yes.
Yes, so that's the most I can do, is that, you know, it goes back some ways, you know, Mickie K with Dr. Rowley putting his youngest minister, 49 years old, to replace him as prime minister when he announced his resignation. And that everyone was surprised at. And then that minister was also the Minister of Energy, who is now still coming back, even though he's been ousted as prime minister and his party's lost the election. He's just an MP, but still coming back and insisting on dragon gas, as if he wanted to dictate to this prime minister what she should do. So one becomes highly suspicious, I have to say, because I still want to see the terms and conditions of that agreement. As an attorney at law, which I am also, I want to see the terms and conditions of that agreement, the dragon gas, and this government should really expose it. What exactly happened, and why would Marco Rubio, Secretary of State of the U.S., make this rather strange statement to the then Prime Minister, former Prime Minister? Should I offer congratulations or condolences? That is a loaded statement coming from a U.S. Secretary of State. So the current Prime Minister, you know, also has to reveal a lot of information. We saw things emerging out of the Prime Minister's residence. We saw baskets or caskets or boxes of alcohol there. And it seemed alcohol for consumption, you know. And they were accusing her of being a drunk. And all kinds of names, but one wonders who are actually drinking that alcohol, consuming that alcohol, imbibing that alcohol in the Prime Minister's office, and when were they doing that? You know, so a lot of things are going to come out, which will require a lot of answers. Dr. Rowley's gone his way, peeks his head in and out to make a very critical statement about the government. But he's really out. I mean, he's the one. I think everybody is blaming him for the fiasco that happened to the PNM on election night. And there are many supporters of the PNM that are very, very unhappy by how they were governing and how they were treating people, including PNM members. So they have to now start rebuilding a party, reflecting with some of these players still there.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, you're right.
Seats.
You're right, and then you have the opposition leader, who is, of course, Penelope Beckles, who is saying that she's not just simply going to object for objecting's sake, there has to be a strong opposition, and I believe so. In order for us to have a healthy democracy, we must have a strong government along with a very strong opposition for checks and balances, accountability, and transparency. But if the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing, because here it is, you have Mr. Young calling a press conference. Who authorized this press conference? Did he communicate with his the opposition leader, Ms. Beckles, before making arrangements for this press conference? We see where he entered the room before she was sworn in, and he didn't even acknowledge her. So all of these things are playing out in the public domain from a political party that always seem to pride themselves not to air their dirty linen in public. Now, it's going to be quite a challenge because now you have accusations flying left, right, and center about some of the actions of ministers, although it wasn't mentioned in names by Dr. Rowley. But in his posting, when he replied to Dr. Amory Brown, he did mention, of course, young girls and the behavior and what have you. I mean, we're at a very strange point in our democracy at this time.
Yes, so, now the dirty linen being washed in public, a lot of it that was being suppressed before. So it's going to be interesting because Penny Beckles is now the official opposition leader. She has the say as far as opposition leadership goes. But there has to be an internal election, and that is forthcoming for a political leader. It would be interesting to see whether they're going for a different political leader from the opposition leader, which had messed them up before during this election, this past election. Whether the opposition leader, well, of course it's an election, so if she throws her hat in the ring, she has to run and compete with the others. So the results of that would be very interesting. I agree with you. We need a strong, resilient, and healthy opposition for our democracy to survive. They're 12, 13 of them. There are 13 of them, and they have 6 senators. My concern is some of the old guard is still there, right? And there are all kinds of issues surrounding them. So, for example, the MP for Digo Martin Central, is it, Mr. Colin Embert? Yes. And he was the one, they took a very, very condescending, derogatory approach to the trade unions. They were very anti-union. He was Minister of Finance. And he's back there just as an MP. Whether they are going to let her run the party as opposition leader, to run the opposition as opposition leader, whether these strong men are going to try to, give her a very hard time, as most women face when they have to deal with men in these positions of authority. She's well liked, well respected, but I think there's an uphill battle for her having to deal with these men under her. And not only men, but some women who are part of the old guard. So there's not much new there for her. There's not much new, except, and that's left to be seen, those 6 she would name as the opposition senators.
Yeah, and of course, there are some names being bandied about, even former UNC individuals who say that they have no problem with serving within the PNM now. So all of these things to look at. Now, go ahead.
They will have no problem serving because they have nowhere else to go. And one also have to be careful of grasshoppers. I've said this publicly, that what do grasshoppers really stand for if when you don't get what you want, you jump to another party? What do you really stand for? What is your worldview? What is your philosophy? Where is your integrity? What do you stand for? And do party leaders want people like that around them? Can they trust those persons? And the issue of trust is a critical one when it comes to who you have in the Senate and who you have in the House, right? Because a lot of things come to a vote there. You might sometimes need a simple majority, sometimes a special majority, and therefore that issue of trust and the doctrine of collective responsibility will kick in. You are expected to support your party. That is an unwritten doctrine of collective responsibility which guides our parliamentary democracy.
All right. Before we close up, I mean, it's been a few days. We've heard the Prime Minister. She set the tone, no nonsense. She's making it quite clear that, Minister, she's even talking about capping on the vehicles, because that in itself has been an issue. And if it is that you need to have your private residence in Port of Spain, you'll have to pay it out of your own pocket because you have an allowance. So these are some things that we're hearing that she has put in place to make sure that the hemorrhaging of the finance, of course, is put to a halt, or at least it slows down. Now, taking all of that into consideration, what is expected of the citizens? I mean, going into this, having to be patient. At least we're not hearing this talk about tighten your belt, but we're hearing from someone who's saying, listen, we have to do it, and we have to find the money. We have to get it done. What should citizens understand their role during this period?
So the citizens, I think, has breathed a sigh of relief. You know, a lot of people have told me this post-election, that the air feels lighter, that they feel they can breathe. They were feeling as if they were under the whip, they were being suppressed. The crime, the economy, the property tax, the forex crisis, all these things are weighing on them. So their expectations are very high. Okay, we expect that a population, when a government changes, the expectations are extremely high. What is expected is that one would expect that the population be reasonable in their expectations. Reasonable, especially in terms of the time frame in which they expect change. You know, so some things can be done in the short run, some things in the medium term, and some things might take the longer term. The government has 5 years to do a lot, and they will have to prioritize. All governments, all prudent governments will prioritize in order of importance, and they do this both for domestic policy and for foreign policy. They have to put their priorities in order, and they will have to determine that based on their promises, based on the manifesto, based on the needs of the country and the needs of the citizens. So my advice to the population is give them a little chance to sort things out, get things in order. They've just got in, they need to settle down. And then before start criticizing, you know, look forward to see and let us properly analyze and assess their achievements, their successes, and their failures.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to have you on. Do enjoy the rest of your evening and your Mother's Day. And of course, we'll be speaking again in the very near future.
Thank you very much for having me. You're most welcome.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much. Take a short break. We'll be right back. Stay locked on.
The Excel brand delivers quality service.
I would recommend Omega Excel to everyone.
Take care of yourself, take care of your health with Omega XL. If Omega XL works for me, it will work for you. Over a period of time, I started feeling stronger in my knees where I could add more pressure.
For all top quality and affordable hardware supplies, no one beats Midland Hardware. Located number 97 Eastern Main Road, Aruka. Midland stocks the #1 brands in hand tools, garden tools, water tanks, power washers, generators, water pumps, kitchen and bathroom faucets, along with face basins and toilet sets, blocks, lumber, steel, sand, gravel and topsoil. Also check out Midland for steel windows and assorted designs of metal curtain rods. Everything for home and business projects. Payments via links, credit cards, online payments, or cash on delivery. WhatsApp 327.
Thank you so much, Master Control. And joining us as we're moving a little faster, we have former government minister Karen Eunice Teixeira, who of course is no stranger to the Observer. And again, let me start off by wishing her a happy Mother's Day, and always a pleasure to have her on. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening to you, Mikey, and thank you very much.
Always a pleasure. Yeah, you know, I was just speaking to Dr. Indira Rampersad, political scientist. I made it quite clear that, you know, in order for us to have a healthy democracy, we need to have not just a strong government, but a very strong and active and effective opposition in order to keep checks and balances. But if you see what's playing out now, you have to ask the question, what really is taking place as far as our politics? I mean, you have accusations now coming from, you know, a posting by a former prime minister about young girls and other, you know, detailing other stuff. Not calling any names, he didn't do that. But he is, of course, throwing that corn out there to see, you know, which fowl is going to come running. Yeah.
I don't know if they'd like to call fouls, but go ahead.
Yeah, and we're at a very strange point now in our politics. Did you ever expect? I mean, this is a party that you are that you were a part of, that always prided itself in keeping its dirty political linen out of the public space. Now we're seeing things unfold that one has to ask what is taking place.
Well, I think I'm not surprised really, because there's too much opposition. Now that the glue that held it together, I don't know if you want to call it glue, but whatever you want to call it, Dr. Rowley, not a man back, he is no longer in the picture. People now feel free to give rein to how they felt. In relation to how you saw people, members of parliament, and even before the election, appearing to support each other, that I'm not surprised at, because I very much experienced that as member of cabinet, that people are able to, as you say, show the discipline and put on a good face and a good front, but behind there's a lot of Machiavellian politics going on. A lot of people there have ambition, and they want to be the political leader one day and the prime minister one day. That is their hope and dream. So you can't, alliances are there for convenience, I would say. So I'm not surprised to answer your question.
No, I just want to read something here from veteran journalist Ken Alley. And he said that ex-PNM ministers tell of cabinet horror. He said some fallen PNM government ministers and third-party officials pop champagne corks at their homes on general election night. Yes, they celebrated after their party was booted from government. They felt a UNC victory was the only way for the PNM to escape Dr. Rowley and to reset the party for the future. The frontliners rejoice with their inner circles, convinced that an electoral defeat would free the PNM from Rowley's tyranny and the stranglehold of his hand-picked proxy Stuart Young. Former ministers and other Balize House operatives are now talking on condition of anonymity about the horror they experienced over the past few years. Now, when you do a post-mortem, you look back and say to yourself, this is what perhaps we should have done, perhaps we didn't consider these options, what have you. But when you do a post-mortem and realize that a lot of it was just based on human behavior, people who felt that, listen, my future, my career was, hitched to whatever was being offered to me, and I had to remain silent. How then do you rebuild from that?
Well, you know something, what you just said to me about popping champagne, I'm sure that happened in 2010. There were persons in that cabinet who wanted the PNM to lose. I mean, in my constituency of David O'Meara, where I had a 98% approval rating, even higher than Jack Warner, that was done by NACTA about 2 weeks before the election, and I had a good team working with me. In any event, I was told by the constituency that they did not want Mr. Manning, they wanted Dr. Rowley. And that was the, so what you're hearing now is, I think Robert LeHun said something, do so, do like so. So that's what's happening right now. I'm not surprised at all. That I am not surprised at all, because I'm confident that Stuart Young was not a favorite for many reasons. And they absolutely, one thing, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And politics makes strange bedfellows. And I think the common enemy was Stuart Young, and they were afraid to do anything because Dr. Rowley, from all the reports I have heard, is a force of, but he didn't hide his personality to us, the electorate, much less behind closed doors. So I think there was a feeling that the only way to take back control of the party, the way that it was going, and I'm confident it was going in a direction that it would have lost its, loss of its support, and the persons who felt that the PNM rightly belonged to those who had been there all these years, etc. I am confident that it was going in the wrong direction. So I'm not surprised they felt so. I felt that they shouldn't have won. Not that I don't think the PNM is a good party. I do think it's a good party. Did it lose its way? 100%. Did they want Stuart Young? No, they didn't, except Rowley, who, I don't know, must have made promises, and Stuart Young was an eager and willing participant, saying that, no, he was there because he wanted to be there. Look at the Prime Minister's salary. I must say, Louis Lee Singh, who I did not know had written the article, so that when I finished reading it, he put an excellent argument for Stuart Young not to accept that Prime Minister's salary? Absolutely. An amendment to the Prime Minister's legislation. So to answer your question, it happened to me. It happened to me. There was a group who I shall not call, but were intent on Mr. Manning losing the election. And it didn't have to be only the UNC. It was right there within members of the cabinet. So what's happening now is a replay.
It says here that one spoke of mental torture, one individual spoke of mental torture and of a toxic, dysfunctional, hateful work culture. He said that they added there's no way this could have continued. We would have imploded. Another stated that Dr. Eric Williams' party would not have imagined his party becoming so broken and flawed. And the ex-minister said cabinet meetings were generally tense with periodic explosions of ill temper. And I mean, listening to what's...
I did hear that.
Huh?
I did hear that. And I did hear when the general convener, things that he said, and, things that he said, I mean, he absolutely had no, I wouldn't say even control. There's some people who can bully their way, and somehow they're able to get away with it because they're willing to go where you will not be prepared to go. And I think, yes, he did. That's all the reports I heard. And the thing about it is, again, because I know some of the players, and secondly, because I was in there, I watched with, sort of a jaundiced eye. You get a little bit, you can't help but become a little bit, you can't remain naive when you're in the business of politics. And you saw people, brown-nosing, you saw them behaving sycophants, playing up. I mean, it was disgusting, and I knew some of them, and I knew they were just playing a game. They were playing a game because they knew that as long as Rowley stayed on as political leader, he was going to decide who got an MP position, who didn't. Now, if you didn't get an MP position, you have to pray to become a senator, and if you become a senator, you have no job security. With an MP, you could take away your ministerial portfolio, yes, as Mr. Manning did with Dr. Rowley, but you stay as an MP, a member of parliament, and your vote may be necessary at certain, could be necessary. Whereas as a senator, there's no job security. So a lot of them who may have been senators were there. They probably were very, very unhappy. They were probably very, very tense. But they knew how to play the game because they hoped and prayed that they would have been made MPs.
But why does the fight remain? I mean...
Why?
Yeah, because, listen, there's no reason to continue the fight. You're not the political leader. You're not the prime minister. You're not the opposition leader. You said, listen, that you're going to walk away from all of this. You're going to live your life, spend more time with your family. Then why is it that you need to have this fight going on as if to say, listen, I cannot leave unless I get my way? And it's not to say that your way is in the interest of the country or even the interest of the party or even of the political players, but of yourself. I mean, yes.
I wouldn't say it's of himself, and that's very well one of the main reasons that the PNM lost, because eventually it reached, if you're there for 10 years, that's good, for 10 years it's bad. So because after a while you can't keep making promises they don't keep, and after a while people do take off the blinkers, and they do, and the cobwebs, and they realize, wait now, we are really in the same bad position. So he was, in my respectful opinion, I can't have the proof of it, but I mean, I was in there, and common sense tells me that he had promised to bring home a like-minded soul to the head of the PNM, and the constitution of our country allows for maximum leadership. When the head of cabinet barks, Eric Williams too, he said I could put a crapper with a tie and they'll vote for him. And you remember when he said he was resigning he was giving up as Prime Minister, and then after that he wanted to see who would have come forward. And then Hudson Phillip, I think, was one of them, if I recall. But at any event, before them I'm making, Stuart Young represented an interest, in my respectful opinion, and that was an interest that Rowley promised to whoever would have supported his party or supported him, whatever the situation. But I think he promised them Stuart Young, because Stuart Young was a mini-me of Dr. Rowley, and all the machinations that we witnessed with him having, and one day he should be so ashamed of himself. I mean, that man, he has no shame. He's going to go down, he and the Dr. Rowley, when the history books are written and there's sufficient distance from the emotion of today, they are going to go down in infamy. Infamy. Their names will be forever blighted. They have no shame. But you know what? Absolute power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And unfortunately, when persons are put in a position, they lose sight, they wear the emperor's clothes, they believe their own PR, and they live in an alternate universe. And that is what happened to them. Because if they were reading the ground, if they were reading the ground, they would have known that the licks they were political licks they were going to get, and they would know what everyone was telling them over and over again. You have lost touch with the people. They feel that you have betrayed them, saying things like the rich will always get rich and it trickle down. All kinds of ridiculous things you're saying to people, so out of touch and cold and heartless. So to me, what is happening now is that there are factions. Everybody wants the power. Those in and those out. Some of them got fired too, you know. All of them want to be inside. Everybody feels they should be prime minister. I don't know who they are, but everybody wants to be prime minister. That is the name of the game. I was in there, and I know the most unlikely persons you wouldn't even think of are the ones who are burning up with the most ambition. And they were careful not to show their hand.
Yeah, but there's a new opposition leader. No, she's not the political leader. There's a new opposition leader. But it's not to say that she was absent to all that was taking place. She was right there. Let's be honest. She was there. Now, she has to pick from the same pool that these individuals were part of. I mean, so how much flexibility or how much room does she have to maneuver to bring anything that may resemble change or anything that could be helpful to the party?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if you. I don't know if it's absolutely correct to say she has little room to maneuver, because she has to pick 6 senators.
Right.
And the 6 senators, you know, you're hearing names being called. So she has to be careful about who she picks as her 6 senators, because now they're going to be in Parliament. They're going to have the ability to keep their public profile going. She has that to consider, and that's a big consideration for her. And therefore, there are many people who are not in the who did not lose because they did not go up, or they are not. They're not. But you can't take an MP. He's in the lower house. So who does she choose from? She should choose from a pool that she could choose from the losing senators. Nothing's to stop her doing that. That's Mr. Pandey was the one who first did it. She could choose from losing MPs, and she could choose other persons who are not there, who are not a part of that. So she has some leeway. The only thing, she only has six senators to choose from. The other thing too is the political leader position. The political leader position, you know, I mean, a lot of people took the who are very much against the former prime minister holding on to political leader and having a prime minister being different from the political leader. Are they going to then feel that even though it's an opposition leader, she is an opposition leader, but prime minister in waiting, hopefully, are they going to feel that they have to give her the political leadership because she is the opposition leader? Is that going to be a consideration? Or are they going to break ranks? Because I feel there's a lot of maneuvering behind the... and people take things personal, you know, Mikey. You might be surprised. Some people harbor ill will because they feel that it was slighted. They hold on to things, you know. You might think they rise above it. But a lot of the maneuvering and feeling offended and feeling hurt and getting back at and whatever it is has a lot to do with her personal issues. So I don't know what's going to happen with these 6 people. She has a task ahead of her. And also, too, is she going to be able to hold on to the opposition leadership? Because Section 83 says if she has the support of the greatest number of persons who do not support the government, and that's they have 2 seats in Tobago. They don't support the government. I don't think they have aligned themselves with the government. So it's not only the 13 MPs or PNM MPs, but also the 2 TPP MPs. They would be considered under Section 83, and it also states very clearly in Section 83 for the opposition leader, unlike the Prime Minister, it says who in her or his, they use the word, who in his judgment is best able to command the support of the greatest number of members of the House of Representatives who do not support the government. Oh, that gives her a lot of discretion. That is the president. So, and the president will act on whose advice? She will act on the advice probably of the current leader of opposition, but it's not a done deal. What about Tobago? They don't support the government. Do they have a say in who is the opposition leader when it comes down to it, because it does not say the party that has the most number of MPs. It says the greatest number of members of the House of Representatives who do not support the government. That's the key thing. So TPP do not support the government as far as I am aware. So it's not just 13 MPs in Trinidad who are PNM MPs, but the two TPP MPs also have a say. So they might break the lock. They might be the ones that say, no, we don't support you. You got 7, and among the 7, you are among the 7. You made the 7, and they said in the voting, the 58-60 for, I think it was for whose position? The chairman position. 2 of them who should not have been allowed to vote. 58-60, that made a big, just 2 votes separated the winner. And 2 voters were Amory Brown and Roger Monroe, who they say should not have been allowed to vote.
That's right. They said that it was done illegally.
So that tells you in a nutshell, don't believe the what people present themselves to be, right? Don't believe that. There's a lot going on, and now that it's 2 in Tobago, according to Section 83, that doesn't mean she's going to hold on to the opposition position. I don't know. Do they have to have a say, because that's what Section 83 says?
Yeah. Have you thought perhaps to return to the party and help with the rebuilding process?
Well, Mikey, you want me to be very
honest? Yes.
Frank with you.
Yes.
Honest, I don't want to use the word honest because it means I could be dishonest. So I want to be frank with you. And to pull back from using that word. Not a good word for politicians or would-be politicians to use. But listen, I have a lot of respect for the PNM as it was, under Mr. Manning. I have never, ever gone against Mr. Manning. I was offered, as I've always said, the opposition senatorship when they were in opposition by someone who could have made that offer. And I suspect was sent to make the offer, and I turned it down. So I am not a sour grapes. I'm not at all. It's very easy to have gotten back just by talk Mr. Manning and suck up to Dr. Rowley and you'll get in. Because I think they think I was a good speaker in the lower house. So I suspect they felt I would have added some value from their point of view. And in any event, to answer your question, I don't think they want to see me. I'm a realist, They don't want to see me because they are hurting. They are, and that is those who are in and those who are out. And how much change is really going to happen? That makes me wonder. Those who are in and those who are out, are we exchanging 6 for 1? Are we really making a real difference? Or are these people who feel that they should be there and are not there, and they don't want the direction in which the party is going because it doesn't benefit them? Or are they really interested in the downtrodden? Or are they really feeling their mission is really to help those who were sidelined by Dr. Rowley? Is it that? Or is it that they feel that they have been hard done by and that they are long-term PNM members and they should be restored to their rightful place? I don't know. And I think that my presence there, not having attended any political meeting of either party, neither putting on anybody's jersey or anything like that, I think that they will hold something against me for, they will just do that. I just know that that is the thing. And I'm not, I want to help my country. I love my country. And I would help, but I don't feel I would be welcomed. Somebody told me they would curse me out.
Well, I want to thank you for taking time out to link with me here this evening. It's always a pleasure to have you on. And yes, you're always frank. That's one thing. You pull no punches. You say it as it is. And we wait to see how things unfold because, really and truly, we need to have that balance, especially that level of political equilibrium where we have a strong government willing to serve, willing to deliver, but as well as an effective opposition that is willing to call things out and to keep things transparent where they need to be. And one has to ask the question, what is really taking place when you look at the political landscape at this point in time? The newly installed Prime Minister has set the tone. She's all about working. She's all about cutting expenditures. She's all about making sure that the most vulnerable is taken care of. And of course, she spoke about the laptops and everything for the children. And on the other side, you have, accusations being hit left, right, and center about so many things. And people are saying, listen, they're actually distancing themselves from that strategy that brought in a prime minister select rather than one that was elected. So they're saying, listen, that was never part of the plan. I never wanted to be a part of that. And because of that, they are now in opposition. So, and you can expect that. They, and that's what a critic does. They wait until after the battle has been fought. They come on the battlefield and say, listen, maybe we should have, maybe we could have. But really and truly, it makes you wonder how sincere some individuals are. So,
exactly, they play it safe. But as you said, I'm frank, so maybe that's another reason they be careful to ask me, because I'm not going to pull punches. I'm just not good. I'm going to. I mean, I think I will be objecting and I will support, but I'm not prepared to compromise myself.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, have a good one, and again, happy Mother's Day to you.
But I can't tell you the same thing. But anyhow, have a good day.
Same to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Well, folks, I'm going to open the lines as we've got some minutes to go. I will open the lines as soon as we come back. Get yourself ready. If you want to make a direct call, 225-9790, 225-9790. And for those of you who are, of course, still pinching pennies and still have your belt tightened, you can send a WhatsApp, call via WhatsApp, 494-0938. 494-093. We'll be right back. When we come back, the lines are going to be open, and you can weigh in on what you've heard so far on this edition of it. Well, why wait? Yes, pleasant good evening. Welcome.
Good evening, Mikey.
Good evening, sir.
Tunapuna here.
Yes, Tunapuna. Go ahead.
Now, Mikey, let me tell you something. As our present governance is concerned in this country, in terms of the politics, I want to say, you know what, you saying that, and people have been saying it, the opposition in this case, remember Keith Rowley has told the UNC that they're irrelevant?
Yeah.
Right? I am saying that in this scenario, I think the opposition is irrelevant, because Penny was there with everything that Rowley and them were doing, and she abided with it. Understand? And never objected to any of the issues that was raised, and the hardship that was done by Keith Rowley and the PNM government. Now, why I'm saying this, Mikey, just remember, if you could recall, why I'm saying that if this opposition is really irrelevant. When Kamla Prasad and the Sesame was 2912, in 2010 to 2015, they had the majority, Mikey, and people were saying that they could have, used the special majority to have constitutional reform and pass a lot of legislative bills and what have you. But Kamla Prasad said, no, there's an opposition, even though we have the special majority. We could simply pass the laws and bills and whatnot without the involvement. Mikey, remember that, eh?
Yes.
And what she said, no. But she still brought all the bills. And she said she wanted to get the opposition input into it. Unlike Keith Rowe, them. They didn't care nothing about the opposition then. Understand what I'm saying? So the PNM government is still centered on just the PNM plan. And they must govern this country. Now I want to just draw your attention to something again, Mikey. There is an article, I don't know if you read that article, on excuse Mikey, Thursday, May 8th Express. An article, the top headline was Kamla stays in his house. But at the bottom article, Rowley targets Avery over rate taking food. You saw that article, Mikey?
Yes, I did see, yes.
No. What I am saying is this. Listen to this very carefully. And Rowley is saying, even though it is difficult for third terms are usually challenging even in good times and abundant resources. So there was plenty of money during this thing, Mikey. Because if you said you are advised for a third term, and you said, people will feel different and whatnot because people will feel it, the electorate is tired of being poor. And even being in challenging times of abundant resources, people think about. Then what he went on to say, I can find comfort in inspiring immortal words of Martin Luther King. Free at last, thank God and Almighty. I am free at last. That's
It says a
and
lot.
put this country in a state of crisis. You have enriched yourself, your finances, your friends, your family, and whatnot. And then you come out of this darkest politics and tell the people, I am free at last. I am free at last. But Mikey, I want to just make a suggestion. The time has reached. We ought to get rid of the governor of the central bank. Because you see, here it is now that every ministry has been maxed out. They have left zero there. The central bank governor was refusing to give information and data as it relates to the state of the economy and whatnot. And sometimes we were talking about inflation low and what have you and what have you. They have to get rid of these people, Mikey. We cannot afford just to say do things over and over and expect different results. We cannot keep these people there and expect different results. We have to get rid of the governor of the central bank.
I agree with you. Thank you so much. I got some folks. Who else is on? Good evening.
Good evening, Mikey. Good evening to you and to everybody out here.
Good evening.
Free at last. Not that guilty conscience, Mikey. That guilty conscience will eat him raw because we see everybody coming out and poking at him now. We saw what Lehan said about him being there and telling Penny what to stand strong or whatever. Penny can't stand strong because Penny is just as guilty as the rest of them. She sat in a cabinet. She played deaf, dumb, and blind to all what was going on. You sat there and watched Stuart Young with 180 recusals to make his brother back in billionaire and his father multi-millionaire with Rohan sending her with Forest Rent and all of them, and she's going to stand strong. You see, Mikey, I don't know if you remembered when Lehan first came in, and the first thing he could have done in the Senate was talk about UNC thief, UNC thief, UNC thief. Why he don't come out now and tell us what UNC stole? Come out now, you're playing man. Come out now, but you see, Mikey, PNM not only washing their dirty linen in public, they're hanging it with the stains on it. They're hanging it with the stains. Because we heard about the sample report and pedophile, in the PNM, right? We heard the Julia Jones report, and they did nothing about it. And now Rowdy's coming to tell us, to tell the nation, and asking the Commissioner of Police to investigate who was interfering with girls. No, Mikey. Rowdy's just as bad and guilty. You knew what was going on, but you have the gall and the gumption and the temerity and whatever words we can find to stand up and say none of your ministers are guilty of any wrongdoing. None of them have no corruption or whatever in the PNM. And when we saw it with Darrell Smith as well, Mikey, okay, he run to give the Commissioner of Police this file, right? I don't know who's in this minister that he's speaking on, and I don't want to speculate, but we heard about Darrell Smith. Did he ever give the Commissioner Darrell Smith file? Because we know money was paid off for sexual harassment.
That's a good question.
So when they want to see, yeah, did he give him his own as well? But no, you offer him a big position in the UK and to represent us in the UK and Canada. Let me tell you something. They feel that Rowdy gone, Churchill gone, and we will forget no Mikey. We voted everything now to Penny just because Penny want to pay sin. Penny want to pay she could leave, and Penny can't leave. And you know the funny thing about it? They're telling Rowdy now to go home now, you resign. Go home now and be with your wife and children. But when Kamala they're fighting, you only wanted Kamala to go home. Only wanted Kamala to go home too.
Yeah, and why are these allegations coming out now? It's very convenient. Why? Is it that you're not getting your way?
Why now? Yeah. Exactly. Because of what Lehan said. Nobody wants to give him his way now, you know. And even Jennifer Batiste, what she said, you're not to come and choose those senators. Right? You're not to come and choose them. But you see what happened? Brown choked the hornet's nest. Right? And that is what set everything now in motion. Mikey, thanks a lot and have a good night.
Thank you so much. And you're right about that. He did choke the hornet's nest. He did. And the lines are still open, folks. 225-9790, 225-9790, and also 494-0938 for your WhatsApp calls. 494-0938. I don't know if you can remember, but I have been saying this. I said it on the ground report, I said it here, where there was some issues taking place with some of our foreign diplomats, certain individual who was given the privilege of having their vehicle parked at a private car park in New York City, and it's costing taxpayers money. And I did mention, was it because this individual, who is a female, was it some actions under the sheets that she was allowed this privilege? Because all of a sudden you're hearing talk being aimed at certain individuals about young girls and taking advantage of them because of using your office and what have you. So again, things are starting to connect. And again, keep an eye on the media. I'm very much concerned about that because they were hounding the new Prime Minister, Kamala Prasad-Bissessar, all of last week about where is she, where is she? You had one person running around like Chicken Little, according to Dr. Rowley, Chicken Little, like the sky is falling. Is she sick? Is she this? Is she that? All sort of things were being said. And here it is, we were told that she was working at her home in, of course, in the Philippines. And then she came out at the press conference and said, listen, I can work in Central Trinidad. I can work in North Trinidad. I can work in South Trinidad. I can even work in Tobago. There is space that has been allotted there for me to work as Prime Minister. But when Dr. Rowley was missing for 3 days, according to journalists, about his whereabouts, after the tropical storm Brett had passed, and they asked him, well, where have you been for the last 3 days? His reply was, well, you sounded like my wife. You sounded like my wife. I think he went on to say, if I'm not mistaken, if my wife wasn't concerned, then why should you be concerned? Then if Dr. Gregory Bissessar was not concerned about the whereabouts of Kamala Prasad-Bissessar, why is it that you had people running around shouting as though something was going on? And that is what we have to look at. It is quite clear that the media has not been friendly to the People's Partnership Administration. You heard Philip Alexander, Senator, talk about it. They certainly has not been kind to Kamala Prasad-Bissessar while she was in opposition. And it is quite clear that they are not going to be kind to her now that she has returned as Prime Minister and the UNC. So what do? If we can't trust in them, then we have to control and manage the narrative where it needs to be. And the focus, of course, is the work that she intends to lay out for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Because they've been disrespected all how by Dr. Rowley. We asked him what it was for. It was a storm. I was busy. Here's my wife forward. And they took all of that and they moved on. So, what is our role? Let's see, we do have a caller that's coming in as we make our way out of here. Oh, it's coming in fast. Yes, okay, caller. Okay, I did miss you there, but go ahead. I'm going to give you an opportunity because we're going to make our way out of here. Already said. Yes, go ahead, caller, quickly.
Good idea, very fast, very quick. Mikey, nice program again as usual. I enjoyed the interview with that lady, the $1 million lady. What I want to say, Kamala can work from home, she can work from anywhere she wants. Pepe Mojica in from Uruguay, he used to work from home, he used to work out from all about. Right, he used to drive a little old Volkswagen vehicle for himself and so on. That's not they gonna say that, why she shouldn't have no driver. You understand? She can work from home, she can work from anywhere once the job is being done, because this man was working in the offices and all over the place and he was still doing a bad job. So you try from home and see if it don't
but that's right, but not only that. Dr. Rowley, they wouldn't, if they attempted to go around Dr. Rowley with that, he would have told them something and they'd just simply lap it up and move on. But for all of last week, they were actually hounding down this woman as to, where are you, where are you, where are you? This is the same man who went missing after a storm for 3 days and then said, what happened? We're looking for me for.
All right, man. You love to listen.
Thanks a lot, my friend. Thank you. Folks, don't forget Probiotic XL combines 3 innovative strategies to restore balance to your digestive system. And Probiotics contains 11 important probiotic strains, protective shield technology, and clear phage that altogether make it one of the best probiotics on the market. Please pick up your bottle of Probiotic XL. That brings us to the end of the program. Until next week, Sunday, be safe. And of course, make sure that you understand to decipher a lot that is being said in mainstream media. They don't seem to be friends of this new administration. So it's our responsibility to protect our Prime Minister and get the truth out. The focus should be on delivery, service, and to elevate the lives of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Until then, have a good one. We are once again observing, but we are observing in the interest of everyone. Have a good one. Enjoy.